welcome to Brands Hatch then for the HSCC Historic Formula Ford 1600 Championship on the Grand Prix circuit today. It's just a one-day event for the Historic Formula Fords and only the one race. Great grid of cars, as has been really all season for the Historic Formula Ford cars. Got 26 cars here today for the 20-minute race. Qualifying this morning was done in damp conditions, and we've got damp conditions again after another shower earlier on, so it should make a very interesting race on this HSCC Super Prix weekend, which sees cars like Formula 2, Formula 5000 and Super Touring cars on the bill as well. Dark Formula 4 should produce some of the best racing of the weekend. Actually, I said there was 26, there's 28 cars that will make the start, because Simon Morris and Simon Pruce were unable to complete a lap in their qualifying session. We'll come to the reason for that in a moment. In the 15-minute qualifying session, it was Sam Mitchell to set the quickest lap. The majority of drivers set their fast lap on the final lap as the circuit dried. So that lap from Mitchell was a 1 minute 44.723. And of course, one of the things happening here is it may be a bit more damp offline than it is on the racing line, which should make it a bit more difficult to overtake. So it'll be important to be out front alongside Sam Mitchell. Sam Mitchell, of course, returned to championship last weekend at Cadwell Park, where he got a double victory. Let's just take a look. This is why Pruce and Morris were unable to settle up in qualifying. Board of Danny Stands, you can see the cars heading into the gravel trap. There's your grid then. So it's Mitchell on pole, the reigning champion. Alongside him, returning this weekend to Historic Formula 4's Callum Grant. He was the 2012 champion. Ex-Formula 1 and touring car racer Tiff Nadell returns this weekend. He starts third. Michael O'Brien is fourth. James Buckton starts row 3 alongside the championship leader Ben Sims, who's finished first or second in every race this season. And Hadfield, Bartel, Svensson and Nuttall complete your top 10 of the grid. So like I said, Callum Grant returning to the championship this weekend and has got himself on the front row in his Merlin Mark 20. Which of course, on the cast to have Sam Mitchell, Michael O'Brien, Max Bartel, all race winners this season. Also with that chassis of Formula Ford getting ready for the start. So all the cars heading towards the grid now. All 28 cars be there. We may well have one or two missing, but we won't worry too much about that now. The safety car gets in position. Hopefully that won't be needed though. We can ride on board then with Callum Grant for the start of this run, and we get underway. And I think Grant makes a better start. Yes, he does. He starts to draw up alongside Sam Mitchell. The two youngsters then go side by side. He's a panic comment for the first time. It's Sam Mitchell who breaks out. It's Tiff Nadell that goes second up on the inside of Callum Grant. It's Michael O'Brien in fourth. Ben Sims has gone up to fifth. So he's gained a place. The cars charge up the hill in towards the Druids hairpin for the first time. And Callum Grant's gone back round the outside, and Nadell is trying to get Mitchell as well, but he won't be able to do that. It's Sam Mitchell that leads away. Then if they go down towards Greyville Bend for the first time, and it's Callum Grant in second. It should be Nadell in third, and Michael O'Brien in fourth. They head down the Cooper Straight down towards Surtees, and then they head off onto the Grand Prix loop. We back to Brands Hatch later this year for the Indy meeting. Is Nadell there in third? Have O'Brien and Sims sideways in fifth, and Bartel's made a good start in sixth. Except with Hadford, Buckton, he's dropped down a few places. He's down in eighth. They just spin there. That's Simon Brown. He's in his first race this season. That's Andrew Wiggins has spun, and Danny Stanzel as well. So slippery down there at Surtees. And Grant goes to the lead at Westfield. Great move up on the inside of Mitchell. Westfield not the most likely of places to make the pass. Callum Grant's done that on his first lap, so he leads. Sam Mitchell down to second place. They go through Sheen Curve and down towards Stirling's now then on this first lap of the race. The curve again. You can see where there are certainly damp patches, especially around the Grand Prix circuit, which amid all the trees. We're now heading into Clearways and Clark Curve to complete the first lap of the race. see it's Callum Grant then who returns this weekend that leads the way. Second is Mitchell, and Liddell's been passed by O'Brien. So O'Brien up to third, Michael O'Brien into third, and Sam Mitchell dives to the inside of Callum Grant to take the lead, and he's done it. Mitchell leads from Grant now then, and O'Brien is third, and Grant chats back up the hill. A good battle as well between Bartel and Hadfield. They were side by side as they headed up Hailwood Hill in towards the Druids hairpin. See the cars flow through then on this first lap, and the second lap I should say, but this happened on the first lap. That was on Jordan Study Stansel. As him and Andrew Wiggins went for a spin. All those three cars that did spin though did rejoin, and we got in the gravel at Clearways and in the barrier. That's Julian Pearce, so he's out of the race. You can see that the rear right corner there has been damaged. Now we can go on board with James Hadfield then for the first time this season. Hadfield chasing James Buckton up the hill towards Sheen Curve, and he can't make a move there on the inside, so we just flow through the corner. We've got Max Bartel leading this group of cars, and into Clearways the leaders, and it's Mitchell from Grant and O'Brien, the top three all together, and Liddell's been passed by Ben Sims. So Ben Sims up to fourth position. You can see Clearways, there's now yellow flags over for the moment as Callum Grant tries to challenge once again for the race lead. Sam Mitchell though is defending the line into paddock comments, so stays in the lead. Grant gets a bit tighter to the apex there though. I don't think he gained too much time from that. Mitchell defends again, so going to Druid, that's the damp line there. Mitchell then slightly overcuts the corner, but he stays in front. He managed to get it turned in. Tricky there on the inside where that stays damp there, and we've got more battle in. This is Bartel with Buckton coming around the outside of him at paddock. Buckton again goes up to sixth ahead of Max Bartel, and James Hadfield now trying to come up on the inside at Druids. This is on this damp line, so he has to brake that bit earlier to make sure he can get the car stopped. He does so, but Bartel stays in front of him, but of course Bartel did lose that place to James Buckton as now they flow their way into Graham Hill Bend on this third lap of the race. Plenty of excitement already in this historic Formula Ford race. So now turn their way through Surtees. This is where we had the three spinners on the first lap of the race, but this trio of cars get through there nicely, and we've had another spinner down there at Clearways. That he should be able to rejoin. That was one of the that was Nigel Adams in the Lotus. Leaders back into Clearways then to complete the third lap of the race. It is still Callum Grant that's challenging Sam Mitchell. There we go then. It's the one ahead of the 43 and the 94. It's Michael O'Brien in third position. So there's three Merlin Mark 20s that lead the way. Then Sims is fourth. Fifth is Liddell. Sixth Buckton. Then the battle for seventh between Bartel and Hadfield. Ninth is Keith Farrance. He made his debut last time out in Snedden, and Will Nuttall is in 10th ahead of Chris Sharples. Back on board we can go with Hadfield. So he looks to the outside at Druids on Bartel, but Bartel stays in front, and now head down towards Graham Hill Bend. Left-hander. Can't do anything there. As I said, return to Brands Hatch at the end of September. It should be the penultimate race meeting for Stoke Qualified. The Brands Hatch Indy. Between here and there, we've got Croft the first weekend of August for the Nostalgia weekend, and Oulton Park for the Gold Cup over the bank holiday weekend. So plenty of action still to go this season. The historic Formula 4 Championship. On board now we can go with Will Nuttall, another driver first on board of the season, and that looks like Keith Farrance slowing down the straight towards Hawthorne, so Nuttall goes up to 9th. I don't have a problem with Pat Farrance, or he made a mistake out of 30s. Leaders still together through Sheen Curve. Grant uses a lot more curve than Mitchell did down into Stirlings now, and again Grant using the curves a lot more than Sam Mitchell is. I don't think Mitchell losing too much because of that. Grant second, third O'Brien. So three youngsters that lead the way here at Brands Hatch as we complete yet another lap of the Grand Prix circuit. Callum Grant's in the slipstream of Sam Mitchell then, heading into paddock, so he comes out of that, but Mitchell defending the line and puts his car in the middle of the circuit to get himself round the corner. Again, Grant just use the curve through paddock, go up the hill. Mitchell again goes for the apex early. That drifts the car a bit out wide. Callum Grant can't find a way through. There's lappery to be done just up the road as well. James Hadfield still putting the pressure onto Max Bartel He tried to go around the outside there, couldn't do it. Bartel was out in the God Trophy yesterday. Completely different car though this is. In the fall of all, they both went out a bit wide. Bartel runs out wider there at Druid, so Hadfield comes up alongside him. Bartel on the inside though for Graham Hill Ben, so here's Stay in front. This is the battle for 7th. James Buckton, he passed up Bartel a few laps ago, he's pulled away. Bartel defending onto Surtees. Now Hadfield's going to try and go right round him here. Brave move, it's working so far. He's got his nose in front now of Bartel as they head down towards Hawthorns. It's a long run down to the fast right-hander. And I think he's done it. They go down Hawthorn Hill. Bartel now starting to draw back up alongside. So they're side by side running through Hawthorn, but Hadfield's got it done. So that's James Hadfield up into 7th position. He's got himself ahead of Max Bartel, but slightly missing the apex. Just James Hadfield, he runs out wide over the curves. So this has allowed Max Bartel to go back in front as they go up now towards Sheen Curve. Great battle this is between the two cars. Now Sterling's. Bartel again, staying in front. Hadfield working at the wheel. Pretty slippery conditions here at Brands Hatches. Not the same everywhere whatsoever. But here comes Hadfield again on the inside of Bartel. Bartel leaving him room. Maybe Bartel with a bit more straight line speed there, and he takes the corner as they turn through paddock now, but Bartel then run out wide, so then Hadfield has to run down the hill and then back up it again. There's a back marker in front, and Bartel outbrakes himself, and Hadfield goes through then for James Hadfield up to 7th. He's got the move done with a bit of a help there from the back marker. On board with Callum Grant in second. Sam Mitchell getting away. Michael O'Brien goes second. O'Brien up on the inside of Grant into Hawthorns. He takes second place. He starts to run out wide. Don't see Callum Grant come back on the inside. No, he can't. So O'Brien does get that second place. O'Brien won at the Silverstone Grand Prix meeting. Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. That was the International Trophy meeting in May. That's his only this season. Sam Mitchell, who leads at the moment to the 2 wins last time out of Cadden Park, they're the only 2 races he competed in this season. Ben Sims and Max Bartel and Tim Cadell, also race winners this year. Ben Sims, as I said earlier on, has finished first and second in every race. It's only 4th at the moment. So 3 leaders up across the Brabham Straight and across the line. O'Brien trying to break away from Grant now. They turn their way through paddock then. There's Sims in 4th. He's a bit off of the top 3. I think he's got problems with that Jomo this weekend. 5th is Nadal. 6th there, James Buxton. Then 7th there's James Hadfield, already gapping Max Bartel. In 9th is Will Nuttall. He's got a bit of traffic to deal with paddock. That slightly held him up. The 10th is Farrance, the 11th Sharp. In 12th. A bit further back, and it's Roland Spencer, who's been closed in by Simon Brown. Remember, he had that spin on the first lap, so it's a good comeback from Brown. Let's have a look at the first lap. Then on board with Will Nuttall. The mid-pack, and you can see Keith Farrance diving down the inside of paddock. In the place and then flowed up in towards Druids. Farrance trying to gain another place. Oh, a bit of contact there between him and Svensson. Svensson trying to get the cut back out the corner. Back to the action then, on board with Danny Stansel. He's also on a recovery drive, remember he had the spin. Behind that's David Innes heading down into Westfield. He goes up on the inside, gains a position at Westfield. So that's him up to 60, 70 I think that is. Next, Andrew Wiggins, he also span at 30, so both these drivers coming back through the field. Wiggins there. I think he realises he stands with North. There wasn't someone that's lapping him because he waved him through there. Either way, Stanton takes the place. Down into paddock then for the race leader, Sam Mitchell. We turn through to the last lap now then. Oh, the back marker spins in front of Mitchell and clips him. So Sam Mitchell out of the race, I think, because they look like there's damage to the suspension there. And yes, there is. Sam Mitchell then out of the race. He was clipped by a spinning back marker on the final lap of the race. The back marker was Nick Arden by the looks of things. Yes, it was Nick Arden in the Merlin Mark 11. It's Sam Mitchell who led the majority of the distance there. So unlucky there to be clipped by the back marker that just lost it on the Exeter paddock. So that's allowed Michael O'Brien to go through into the lead. So Michael O'Brien, who won at Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, is now going to win, looks like, at Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit on board with Mitchell. See, he could do absolutely nothing about that. Such a shame for Sam Mitchell. He was looking to be good for 3 out of 3 here this season. And absolutely gutting for Sam Mitchell. Final lap of the race as well. What that has meant is Ben Sims will keep up his podium record because he's up into 3rd place now. So here comes into clearways and Michael O'Brien. He's going to be testing a new Formula Ford in a few days' time in Snetterton, but he wins here in the HSCC Historic Formula Ford 1600 Championship at Brands Hatch. 2nd place will go to Callum Grant. Less than a second between the two of them. Ben Sims in the Jomo will take 3rd place ahead of Tiff Liddell, who didn't go as well today as he did at Thruxton earlier in the season over the Easter weekend, but he took a victory. And then in the 5th position is James Buxton, who actually caught up with Liddell, but Liddell holds on to finish in 4th. It's 6th, James Hadfield, who kept himself ahead of Max Bartel and kept that couple of second margin that he pulled out. Will Nuttall will finish there in 8th position, and Simon Brown got himself up to 9th, as you can see there on the official classification. He got himself ahead of Keith Farrance at the end, who finished in 10th, and Roland Svensson ahead of Kevin Stanzel, Andrew Mansell, Matthew Sturm, and Andrew Wiggins and both him and David Innes got themselves back ahead of Danny Stanzel by the end of the race. Fastest lap went to Sam Mitchell, just out of 10th of a second quicker than what Michael O'Brien managed. So then the winning trophy going to Michael O'Brien, also the winning novice driver yet again this season.